Hello everyone, I'm Sahela Abzali. Our today's presentation is about Azerbaijani music. The first thing that amazed me when I first traveled here, the classical music of Azerbaijan to the popular jazz music and pop musics to the musical instruments here all highlight this country as one of the rich musical countries in the world. And today we are glad that we have this opportunity to present this interesting topic to you. Before starting, have a look at the outline of our presentation. To start with the first fact, Azerbaijan music is developing throughout the centuries, and one of the most ancient and historical monuments of Azerbaijan is the well-known Gobistan's rock depiction, which the traces of the ancient music of Azerbaijan were also found in rock carvings during the archaeological excavation in Gobistan and areas like Gizelving and Gangachay. In petroglyphs, the Azerbaijan national dance Yali was reflected on rocks, and such type of dance it was usually accompanied by the sound of music created by the gavaldashi or the tambourine stone. And it was a very attractive relic of the past. And such ancient music were also described in Gobistan's rock art, with several other musicians they used the hypnotic sound of this rock to create several pieces of music. Azerbaijan music was built on folk tradition that may reach back nearly 4,000 years, and the Azerbaijan folk yalis, it's one of the oldest collective play in the world, and also a rare example of creativity that combined vocal music, instruments, choreography, and also such favorite genre of music along with the dance music. It is one of the widely spread and important component in the national folklore music in Azerbaijan. Now I would like to have your attention to a short video representing the Azerbaijan folk yalis, which is accompanied by the gavaldashi or the tambourine stone. Now I would like to talk about the first written monument of Azerbaijan music, Dede Korkut, the legendary sage narrator. He is the creator of the musical instrument gupuz and koyi. Gupuz was the main instrument of the Ozan Oghuz, and these instruments they are the musical ancestral legacy of the Azerbaijan people. The author Dede Korkut, he also sang and composed. For instance, in the first legend it's written, he arranged, composed and sang this legend. And the episode of Dede Korkut, it contains several chapters which is related to music and citing the names of different musical instruments. For instance, to quote some of them, it's written that the drums were beat and gold, spiral, silver were played. And my Dede Korkut came and he played joyful tunes. So all this testifies that Azerbaijan music, it possesses an ancient history, which the earliest traces could be found in Dede Korkut book. Now I would like to have your attention to a short video of the ancestry legacy of Azerbaijan people, Gupuz. To continue with the first book on music, it dates back to the 13th century. Safiuddin Urmawi's most important work were the two books, Kitab al-Adwar and Risal al-Sharafiyya in Arabic language on a theory of music. which they laid foundation of the academic discourse of the Arabic music. Ozer Hajibayev, he wrote in one of his books, The Principles of the Azerbaijani Folk, that the two prominent and musicians, Safiuddin Urmayi and Abdelkader Maraghi, they made a great contribution to the theory of Near and Middle Eastern music between the 13th and 15th century. And also these two books, Kitab al-Adwar and Risala al-Jarfiya by Urmawi, they established the science of music in Azerbaijan and laid its foundation for the further development. Thank you so much, and now my friend Nermeen is going to continue the presentation.
Hello dear ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nermin, and today I'm going to speak about Shusha as Caucasus Art and Conservatory Center. Karabakh is a cradle of culture in Azerbaijan. This area, this territory is prominent with its own famous musicians and singers. Every corner of this beautiful territory area is embedded with echoes of Mugham, Azerbaijani traditions and art. Venice in Austria, Naples in Italy, Karabakh Shusha in Azerbaijan. There is even a common saying, in Shusha, the babies in diapers cry on the Mugham mode. Every year, Azerbaijani people celebrate the Mugham festival, which was firstly founded in Shusha. But unfortunately, because of external intervention of Armenia, we didn't do it, but instead we celebrated it with the town of Shekim. The pioneers of this festival were Uzair Hajibayev and Rashid Beybutov, who were also from Karabakh, Shusha. The last Mugham festival in Shusha took place in 1988, but now I hope after liberation of Shusha we will celebrate it this year and in the upcoming years as well. Now I want to speak about musicians from Karabakh Shusha. In the photos you can see four prominent names such as Sadık Can, Khan Shushinsky, composers and etc. In the last picture you see Khan Shushinsky, who is holding Har Bülbül and missing his motherland Shusha so much. Mir Mohsen Nawab was born in Shusha in 1833 and died in Shusha in 1980. Vuzuhul Argam, and he wrote Vuzuhul Argam, the work. He first interpreted the numbers of music, which was published in Baku in 1980. Destgah, the origins of Mugham, etymological roots, and etc. are connected with his name. He was the first person who used the 7 terms of Destgah, such as Rast, Mahur, Shahnaz, Rahavi or Rahab, Jahargah, and Neva. First Vice-President of Azerbaijan currently, Mehriban Aliyeva, stated that we pass on Mugham to future generations as a part of our hearts and souls. Mugham or Mughamat is a music genre that encompasses the complexity, wide variety, and development of musical deep emotions and deep sorrow and feelings. In Azerbaijan, Mugham is performed by a singer accompanied with a trio. Destgah means the wholesome performance of Mugham, and it makes mainly the Mugham to look like a whole. In 2003, Azerbaijani Mugham was declared as a masterpiece of the intangible heritage of humanity by UNESCO. Also, I want to speak about diversity and classification of Mughams. Mainly, Mugham is divided into 3 parts. Mugham Destgahs, small volume Mughams, Zerbi Mughams, in translation persuasive or rhythmic Mughams. and symphonic mugham. 7 main and 3 auxiliary mughams there are in contemporary Azerbaijani music. Uzair Hajibeyli, speaking about these 7 types, psychologically quoted that each of them has its own impact. Rast gives a feeling of courage and cheerfulness to listeners. Shur gives joy, lyrical mood. Segah, a feeling of love. Shushdar, deep sorrow. Jahargah, excitement and passion. Bayat Shiraz gives sadness. Humayun is more deeply saddened than Shushdar. And now I want to quote the words of Bayat Shiraz Mugham. Könlümün sevgili məhbubi mənim. Vətənimdir, vətənimdir, vətənim. Vətəni sevməyən insan olmaz. Olsa da o şəxsdə vicdan olmaz. In translation, it wanted to say that I love my motherland too much, and even there cannot be a person who doesn't love. And if you will find that person doesn't have a conscience to do so. And now I am urging you to watch one of my favorite mughams, Bayat Shiraz. I hope you will like it. Let's start the video.
Vatanı sevmeyen insan olmaz. Vatanı sevmeyen insan olmaz. Olsa da o şahsta vicdan olmaz.
Thank you, Narmin. My name is Asadullah and I'm going to proceed with Azerbaijani musical instruments. Azerbaijani traditional musical instruments are designed for emotional color, rhythm, tempo, and artistic features of Azerbaijani traditional music. Furthermore, it got through a very long path of historical development and carried many characteristics of Azerbaijani traditional music. Many of string, wind, percussion instruments were made of the history and provided a basis for Azerbaijani traditional musical treasury. Throughout my speech, I'm going to talk about 4 main Azerbaijani musical instruments: tar, kamanche, balaban, and daira. Right now I want to talk about Azerbaijani tar. Azerbaijani tar was developed by Mirza Sadiq from original Persian tar. He increased the number of strings and reduced the size of the instrument. He also reduced the number of tones, so it contained 11 strings and 17 tones. Azerbaijani tar is also depicted in 1 kopek and 1 manat currencies respectively. Azerbaijani tar took the lead in the first sheet orchestra of folk musical instruments, created in 1931 on the initiative of Uzair Hajibeyli and Maslan Magamayev. Tar was used primarily as a lead instrument in so-called trio of singers. Also, Azerbaijani tar is listed as UNESCO's Intangible Cultural Heritage of Humanity since 2012. Second of all, I want to talk about Azerbaijani kamancheh. The kamancheh is related to rebab, which is a historical ancestor of the kamancheh and both Byzantine lira. Azerbaijani kamancheh from Persian means little bow due to its size and the shape, form factor. Azerbaijani kamancheh has 4 metal strings, and it's usually played in sitting down position and held like a cello, so it's about the length of a violin. Traditional kamancheh has 3 silk strings, but afterwards they were changed to metal ones. Azerbaijani Kamancheh is also listed as UNESCO's Intangible Heritage of Humanity, but since 2017. Right now I want to talk about Azerbaijani Balaban, which is a wind instrument. It's a double reed wind instrument about 35 centimeters long with 8 finger holes and one thumb hole. Balaban can be considered as one of the ancient wind instruments played in all corners of Azerbaijan. Balaban usually made from the harder woods such as mulberry or walnut. Azerbaijani Balaban, as well as tar, was first played in Azerbaijani orchestra in 1931. Due to its sound characteristics, Azerbaijani Balaban can be played, usually it's played in closed rooms because of its weak sound. I want to mention about Kamil Jalilov, his contribution to Voyager Golden Record. Kamil Jalilov was the one who recorded his own mugam using balaban, and his record was chosen to put in the Voyager Golden Record. And this is the only Azerbaijani music that has been included in Voyager Golden Record.
Hello, my name is Şöyle. Today I'm going to talk about Üzeyir Hacıbeyov, Garagarayev, and Fikret Amirov. When we say Azerbaijani music, we mean genres inherent in our culture, expressing the artistic and aesthetic taste of our people, including national and spiritual values, virtue, lifestyle, the concept of beauty. The greatest Azerbaijani composer, publisher, playwright, writer, academician Üzeyir Hacıbeyov, born on September 18 in 1885 in Shusha, and this day is celebrated as the National Music Day in our country. Because of our national music culture, cultures owes its peak of development to Üzeyir Hacıbeyov. Üzeyir Hacıbeyov is the founder of the first opera in the East. Because of his selfless work, the history of Azerbaijan National Opera began from the day the opera Leyla and Majnun was staged. Based on the poem of the same name by the greatest Azerbaijani poet Muhammad Fizuli, Leyla and Majnun is the first opera not only in Azerbaijan but also in the East. Inspired by the success of the first opera, Üzeyir Hacıbeyov wrote several operas such as Sheikh Senan, Rustam and Sohrab, Shah Abbas and Khurshid Bani, Aslı and Kerem, and the peak of Üzeyir Hacıbeyov creativity is the opera Koroğlu. Now I'm going to talk about Garagarayev. Garagarayev was born in 1980 in Baku in a family of doctors. He is an outstanding composer who makes an invaluable contribution to the treasure of modern music culture. The composer's symphonic poem Leyla and Majnun, Bali Seven and Beauties, and Pass of Thunder, Symbolics, Engraving, Don Quixote, Symphosis Third, and works of violin and orchestra are the most valuable page of the musical chronic. And inspired by Nizami's images, the composer wrote the symphonic series Seven Beauties in 1949. And this year, one of the most famous work of our music has won the sympathy of listener in many parts in the world of the world. During his teaching career at the Azerbaijan State Conservatoire, Garayev tutored several prominent Azerbaijani musicians and composers, including Arif Malikov, Khayyam Mirzazadeh, and Ismail Hajbayev, among others. Now it's time for Fikret Amirov. There is no genre in music that the composer doesn't address. Amirov is the author of operas, ballets, symphonies, symphonic mugams, symphonic poems, suites, piano concert, musical comedies, songs, movies, and romance. He created a new genre called symphonic mugam, and Amirov's symphonic mugams were based on classical folk pieces and were performed by many renowned symphony orchestras throughout the world. Amirov was a prolific composer. His most famous piece includes symphonic work such as Shur, Kurd of Shari, Azerbaijan, Caprica, Gülistan Bayatı, Shiraz, and also he wrote several pieces for the piano, including ballad, ashuk song, lyrical dance. And the most outstanding work that made the musician well known around the world are the opera series as well as ballet 1001 Night, created based on Oriental tastes. In conclusion, I want to express my opinion about the music. Every work of art has a positive effect on the formation and development of people's characteristic, the growth of their cultural level. But the effect of a piece of music is greater than the effect of all the other piece. That's all. Thank you very much for your attention.
Hello everyone. As the fifth speaker today, I would like to talk about Azerbaijani Ashid music as well as Azerbaijani first in music. So firstly, I will be talking about Azerbaijani Ashid music. The Azerbaijani Ashid music is an important part of Azerbaijani culture. It is a form of oral art which involves a small performance by a solo vocal accompanied by the saz. The Ashik, which is very well known as the minstrels, composes music, writes poetry, play the saz, and dance at the same time. The song in this art praises epic legends, people, freedom, heroism, friendship, and as well as love. The most common genre is the heroic eposes, and most of them are actually based on the stories found in the book of Didi Korkut. Composers such as Uzey Hajibarov and Garagarayev has actually used the Ashik music in their performance. When it comes to the Ashik music, some of the most notable Ashiks are Ashik Ali, Ashik Alaska, and Ashik Assad. In 2009, Azerbaijani Ashik was actually inscribed on the representative list of the intangible cultural heritage of humanity. Now I would like to talk a little bit about Azerbaijani first in music.
Bizden eyledin bizden cümleye ferman ettin.
The first opera in the Islamic world, created by Azerbaijani's very own Uzey Hajibarov, Layli and Majnum, founded a unique new genre in the musical culture, which is well known as the Magham opera. The Magham opera is very well known throughout the world, which is basically a combination of the Eastern and Western musical form. Uzey also created the first musical comedy of the Muslim world and the Caucasus. Additionally, we have Shovkat Mamadova, who was the first professional opera singer in the Muslim world. And then we have also Shafiga Akundova, who composed Galin Gayasi, the first opera in the Islamic world by a woman.
Azerbaijan pop music was established in the mid 20th century, which was in year 1956. In year 1957, pop music assembled with Bakidanik, which means we are from Baku, played an important role in development of pop music in Azerbaijan. And the year 1970 is characterized as a golden age for pop music in Azerbaijan. The classic pop singers such as Mirza Babayov, Shavkat Alekbarova, Zainab Khanlarova, Oktay Aghayev, and Ilham Guleyev achieved great success at that time, which has been considered as famous and popular singers of pop music in the mid 20th century. Talking about the great and significant events throughout the pop history in Azerbaijan, we can mention from Gaya Quartet, which was an Azerbaijani vocal quartet consisting of Arif Hajiyov, Temur Mirzayev, and Rauf Babayev. The quartet was active from 1972 to 1988. They sang in multiple languages, including Azerbaijani, Spanish, Polish, and English. This quartet was active from 1972 to 1988. And the other thing was Azerbaijani State Song Theater, named after Rashid Behbudov, which was established in year 1966. The theater repertoires consists of folk songs, mogams, tansiv, and as well as popular artists such as Ilham Aglayev, who worked in that theater. Talking about Azerbaijani State Pop Symphonic Orchestra, which was created in the year 1975 and played an important role in development of pop music in Azerbaijan. Azerbaijani jazz has a long history that dates back 90 years almost to the earliest days recorded jazz. The foundation of Azerbaijani jazz was laid by the state pop orchestra known as State Jazz at the end of the 30s by Niazi and Guleyev. The first composition of the ensemble was consisted of three trombone, trumpet, five saxophone, piano, guitar, and percussion instruments. And one of the most important figures among Azerbaijani jazz performers was Mr. Pervez Rustambayev until year 1950s. After the end of the Great Patriotic War, Rauf Hajiyov was the head of state jazz. However, in 1950s to 1960s, the Western propaganda machine against the USSR made a strong damage in development of this strong genre in the country. The Azerbaijani fans were fans of jazz, actually, were tried to present this as a popular music to avoid criticism. If you look at a quoting from one of the attendees of these events, which says that it was quite problematic to attend those nights, because since the audience of these events were composed of truly free-minded people, and despite all these problems, the Azerbaijani composers and musicians such as Niazi Tofik played an important role in development of jazz in Azerbaijan. At the end, we would like to close our presentation by playing a video from Vakif Mustafazada, who is the founder of Azerbaijani jazz mugham movement that emerged in the late 1960s and 1970s. Thank you so much.